ED.
Yo.
Yesterday's price is not today's price, which is good and bad for Debo if you think about it.
Okay. I didn't know what you were talking about. I guess that depends. Okay. All right.
It depends.
We'll get into it.
This is the Believe in 49ers podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. He is Super Bowl champion Eric Davis. I'm Rashawn Haylock. Plenty to get to on the show. Obviously, the big news, Deebo Samuel. The hits just keep on coming with that one as it continues to be a fluid situation. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We haven't talked about that here on this particular pod. Also,
we haven't talked about anything on this pod in a while.
We've gone.
You might as well just
There's
tell
been
the
radio
truth.
silence from our end as of late. Draft is here also. What does that mean for the Niners? Obviously, no first round pick, but could there be one? We'll see. Obviously, the Debo could have a lot to do with that. As always, we want to remind you to continue to download, subscribe, rate, and review. Located wherever you find your podcast. If there's a like or a follow button on your particular podcast subscription service, go ahead and hit that like or follow button. Feel free to get involved on the show. Hit us up on social media. I'm at @RHaylock. He's at _Eric Davis_ on Twitter, and on Instagram, I'm at Watch Ray Ray. He is at Eric Davis _____. That's 4 underscores, as in the amount of rumors that may have come out about Debo, since this whole thing started. Actually, that's probably a little low. That's probably a little low.
4? Come on, man. That's been 4 since
low.
6 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As always, we're brought to you by the fine folks at Bet Online. Look, I mean, it never stops for those guys over there, right? And they continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. Don't forget, MLB is back, right? They were fighting out there, the Mets and the Cardinals. They were getting after it a little bit, well, for baseball standards. But so whatever you got, Bet Online's got you covered. Super easy to get started. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. He is Super Bowl champion Eric Davis. I'm Rashawn Haylock. This is the Believe in 49ers podcast on Believe. Not the Believe Podcast Network, just simply Believe. But it's been a while, but it just kind of just rolled off, ED.
There it is.
I'm a little impressed actually with myself.
No, I'm not.
I'm gonna go ahead, bet myself.
I'm not going to pat you on the back for doing what you do. Stop it. Stop it. Come on, man. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy.
I'm better than that, right?
Asking for trinkets.
I'm better.
Trinkets. Stop it. Stop it. You're better than that.
I shouldn't ask for. Yeah, I'm better than that. Shouldn't ask for trinkets. As in Debo has allegedly asked for a trade. So we're at this point now, right? Debo wants his money, of course, right? And
of course,
and so
rightfully so.
Rightfully so. Like he's done a lot. He's put himself in a position, I should say, to where his voice can be a little bit louder, right? Obviously, like he's been blowing up on whether it be the commercials, the promos, the ads and stuff for the NFL. Kind of became like the poster boy of the multifaceted player, if you will, right? Kind of creating his own position. But we've talked about this on this show, right? Previously, like what's the market for him, right? Like obviously he doesn't want to be paid as a running back because ain't no money in that. But as a wide receiver, who's he comparable to? John Lynch coming out saying, really no intentions of trading Debo. But there are some reports out there it's going to take at least 2 ones. And look, this may not be popular. This may not be popular. But you throw 2 ones, and now I'm thinking.
I'm not even thinking. That's easy. That's easy.
Easy as in
you make the trade.
Okay.
It's easy.
All right. Well, there you go. Okay. So we're on the same page. We're on the same page.
You're not going to get 2 ones for Debo. You're not going to get 2 ones. And if you give me 2 ones, of course I make that trade. That's not even like John Lynch said, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just kidding. Unless you're going to do it.
Unless you're gonna do it, right? New York, right? I mean, the Jets may be in
anyone. Yeah, but the Jets, well, not cut you. See, the Jets, everyone always throws the Jets out there because the Jets are a joke as an organization. So you always throw the Jets out there to do something. I'm not going to say dumb. I'm going to say out of the ordinary. That's what you expect from the Jets. And especially with the Saleh connection, you're going to expect the Jets to do it. That's where, you know, you have a coach there. If not for Tyreek Hill, you know, they'd be talking about Miami doing it, but they can't. You know, the owner is not going to allow them. It doesn't matter what McDaniel want right now. And I'm sure he would love to have Deebo, because as opposed to trying to teach Tyreek Hill to do all the things that he wants within his offense from that position, he already would have a guy that knows how to do it. So the Jets, you're going to throw them out there. There could be some other teams out there, but if someone decides that we believe Deebo is worth 2 ones, why would you possibly not do that? I've already told you there's only one untouchable on the team, and it ain't Deebo. The other thing that I'm going to quickly say right now, right up front, I said on live yesterday, that everyone is freaking out over, what are you going to do to replace that production? How can you replace the production of what Deebo brings? I am on the soapbox. Deebo's a baller. I told some guys this, like, Deebo's a baller, but there's no position called baller. So when it comes to contract time, that's part of the issue. Is he worth more? Yes. How much more is the issue while under contract? That's the issue. But remember, the replacement? Remember how Deebo became Deebo? How we started to see what's going on, how he morphed into this player that's in this position now? He was replacing
the running back room
production that was lost. He was replacing them. So you say, how do you replace this? How do you replace this production? You just get those other guys back. You get other guys to fill the running back role. You continue to see what happens at the wide receiver position. It's not like what he does can't be fixed if you lose it. That's the part that's freaking me out. I like Deebo, but everyone acts like the team can't function without him. It's easy. It's far easier to replace what he does than people think, because you get a running back and you get a wide receiver, and there's a draft coming up right now where you can get both if you don't already have them on the squad.
Yeah. And I think to add to that, you got a guy who had a much lesser role last year, much lesser production in George Kittle. And there's more production to come out of 85 in that scenario, of course, right? So I mean, there's a lot of things. The interesting part about all this to me is, like, we've all seen Deebo, and we've even questioned Deebo even going into this season, like, okay, well, when he's going to take that next step or whatever, yada yada yada. And for a long time, like, I've mentioned here on this pod, like, he's a running back playing wide receiver. And it wasn't until last season, where the beginning of the year, at least, where he was battling with Kupp for the lead in terms of receiving yards, it was like, okay, this guy looks like a wide receiver playing wide receiver. And I think where the sentiment, I believe, from the faithful come in is his production in the biggest games of the year, right? He was the MVP in those games, right? Green Bay,
baller,
the Rams, right? Like he's a baller, but you got to be careful, because the plight was sort of like this, and all of a sudden it jumped to here, and not that he didn't make an incremental leap, but to say that he's gone from this player to all of a sudden, some are saying, oh, well, he's the best wide receiver in the league, or this, that, or the other. That's a cautionary tale to me.
Well, this is when it comes to that. Now, I'm not going. You know how I look at it. You can't say you can't say that a guy can't do something when he's done it. So I'm not going to say. See, I'm completely different. I will.
But sample size, though.
Okay, yes, sample size, but I can also say that yes, he made the leap. We were waiting for him to make the leap, as you said. He made it. He did make that leap. The expectation was like, okay, I'm waiting to see if there's more. He showed you more. You can't then hold that more against him and say, well, I don't know if that's really you. Now this is the thing. I know that potentially that is what you can consistently do. Potentially you can consistently do it. You haven't done it yet, but consistently, but I have seen you do it. So there's nothing that would make me believe, if I'm the guy in charge writing the check, there's nothing that would make me believe you can't do it again. Now we go back to negotiating, because you are not in the best and strongest negotiation position, that being free agent, and that costs you a little bit. That's all. So it's not a question of have you earned a raise. Yes, that's easy. Answer to that question is yes. The question is, where do we slot you? And you might not like where I'm slotting you because of the business part of it. But that's based on, what do I say? Negotiating. You don't get paid what you're worth. You get paid what you negotiate. And you are not in that strong of a negotiation. Me as the check writer, the organization, I'm in a stronger negotiation position because you can't go anywhere. That's the thing right there. So I can see Debo playing that way, man. That's how he plays.
Okay,
That's who
but
he is.
what about the fact that he needs to do it again?
Well, doing it again is only going to solidify
I've
his
heard you
worth.
say that before here on this show.
Yeah,
Like I need to see you do it again. You know,
yeah.
like you
Well,
mentioned it about Mahomes, right? Like can you do it again? Like one time is good, but can you do it again?
yeah,
That's how you build consistency, right? And it's not just
yes.
one flash in the pan type of a season.
Well, with Mahomes, we can go back to him. His first year on the field, he came out, he played well, and everyone said, "What do you think about Mahomes?" And I said he had a really good year. I said he had a great year. And you're right. I was like, let's see, can he do it again? Guess what happened? He did it again, and then what happened? He became the highest paid quarterback in the league. Correct. That's what I'm saying about Debo.
Correct.
And that's what I mean. It's not a question of whether or not I
Well, I
think
don't
he
think
can
we've
do it.
seen the can he do it again part yet.
Well, because he hasn't played the next season. He hasn't played the following season.
Yeah, and that's where
But
I am with it right now.
but now my thoughts on whether or not I believe he can do it, I gave you those. Yes, I believe that he can do it. I believe that that's how he can play. I've seen him take that leap. I think he can be that type player moving forward. But that's not the question. The question is, do I have to pay you what you want right now? The answer to that is no, not what you want, because you can't force me to pay that fee because you're not in position to. I control the narrative on the checks. You may say that teams always control the narrative. No, they don't, because there are times where you're a free agent and I can go out and get what you don't want to give me. He can't do that right now. He can't trade himself. And the only way he gets traded is if it's a deal. You started this off like, what do you do with 2 ones? Oh, you can go. Gotta go. 2 ones. But you got to make this. You have to. I'm the check writer now. I'm pretending to be the organization. You have to make it work for me. I don't have to make it work for the player. This is the part of the business that people don't like. Yes, I respect you as a player. We understand your worth to the team. We know your value in that locker room. We understand that you are the MVP of our big games. Guess what? We can continue to keep you here on the salary, under the contract. That's what happens in the NFL. Teams are not obligated to players. Players are obligated to the team. I can take money from you for non-performance. I don't have to give you more for giving me extra. That's not the way it works in the NFL. Hard, unfair, but that's the way it is. So it's got to be a team. They have to get what they want, or Debo's not going anywhere. There's no reason to give him away.
No reason at all, right?
No reason.
You don't. I mean, you don't have to, right? And Debo, it wouldn't benefit. We talked
Yeah.
about this, a couple weeks ago. It would not benefit him, obviously, to sit out, right? So Today's draft day.
Yeah.
After this first round ends, Debo still in the colors?
Well, I just told you what. It depends. That depends on if someone out there. See, crazy things happen on draft day. Crazy things happen because, and it's and that's
beyond the Kevin Costner movie, right?
It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to beyond the movie. It's a hard thing to predict because you don't know who's going to be left in that room. You don't know who people are. Just like last year, you don't know which coach has fallen in love with a player, like Kyle fell in love with Trey Lance, and they're willing to move heaven and earth to get him. You don't know which guy is sitting there. There could be a team that was out of the playoffs last year saying, if we only had a Debo. If we only had a Debo.
A team that no one's talking about, right?
That happens, yes.
Blue, right?
That happens in free agency. That happens in the draft. Where teams, when you're like, man, then you're afraid, like they gave him a bunch of money because that team feels like this player, that was the missing piece. We got everything we need, but that piece right there will either put us over the top for that championship, or that piece will, get us into the playoffs. It's the Matt Stafford move, where you're like, this is the piece where it's like, okay, we're good, but this, and if you believe that, somebody may possibly do it. So, you know how I am about that whole predicting thing. I think Debo is still going to be on the team.
Just for clarification, 1-1 doesn't do it for you.
1-1 doesn't. Yes, I'll take a 1 easily.
You'll take 1-1?
I take Debo as a 2. You know how I always do this. It's just value. Look, this is the thing.
Yeah, Debo but is the one that you're going to get better than Debo?
It depends on what where the one is. Number one, this is the first thing I can say. I drafted this is why I think you can ask for 1 for Debo as opposed to a 2. Because we had this discussion with Jimmy. When you say, what about Jimmy? I said, you give me a 2. I said you got to start with a 2. It's like with Debo, you got to start with a 2. He was a 2. Debo was a 2. Okay, so now that since he was a 2, I think he was the 60th pick. You got to give me at least that to start off. Okay, that's number 1. Now I can ask for more. Why? Because Debo did what I expected to be. I expect a 2 to be a starter. I expect a 2 to be ultimately be a Pro Bowler, All Pro. That's what happens. You draft a guy first or second round, you're expecting them to be a solid player. That's not an iffy position. You expect this guy to be a player. Now, what is his ceiling? I don't know, but his floor, second round, his floor is a starter. So Debo has shown that he can do that. So you got to start with the 2. So now I expect this guy to become a Pro Bowler, All Pro caliber player at some point in his career. That's what you expect. He's already done that, which takes me up to, hey, I might want a 1 for this guy. He's a young player. He's shown you his potential. I can't promise you what he's going to do, but he's shown you Pro Bowl potential. He's shown you that that's within him. Now it's up to you to continue to get it out of him if you want to make a trade. So that's why. So if you say, give me a 1, I'll get a 1. And now this is the whole thing. You just said it. Are you going to get a player like Debo? Probably not. Debo is a unique player, but can I get a pass rusher with the 1? Can I get another wide receiver that can be an outside the numbers number 1 guy? I got this big arm quarterback. Can I find another fast guy? You got these 4-2 guys in this draft. Can I find another guy? Can I find somebody opposite of Bosa? Can I find myself a running back? Can I find myself a playmaking safety? So those are all the other things that are still out there that you can get. So yes. So everybody keeps getting caught up on what you're going to lose from Debo. You're going to gain other things, and he was replacing production. We talked about that.
You'll get something. I kind of had this hard and fast stance at 2 1s, but now that you mentioned that, I mean, look, 1-1. You look at this.
You're not getting. If you get 2 1s for Debo, I mean,
that's pie in the sky. That's pie in the sky, right? I mean,
immediately. Yes.
1-1, right? You look at this draft. I mean, this wide receiver group at least is similar, if not better, than IU's class, right? Where you had all those dudes coming out. You had Judy,
Mm-hmm.
you had BA, like you had all these dudes coming out, right? Lamb, like you had all these dudes that were thought, thought very highly of, and I think there's, especially at the top of this wide receiver left there, I think there's some guys there, but as you mentioned, pass rusher, things like that. I mean, you probably have to be up, a lot earlier in the draft, to maybe get, one of those guys. But I mean, that's something to think about. I don't know. We'll see. It's draft day. Crazy things happen. I love the
Yeah.
movie. Real life,
Yeah.
Is just as good. You know
Do
what I
you
mean?
think? Yeah. Do you think he's going to be on the team after the first round? We'll just say after the first round because
After the first round, I think so.
yeah,
I think so.
I do too. I
Even
think he's
though
going to
Joe Douglas had that kind of wry smile at that press conference and everything, and it seemed like he knew a secret that nobody else knew. I think, I mean, this stuff happens all the time, right? And
it does.
more often than not, there's no movement, right? Even though teams have been a little bit more apt to
It's
trade
lion
the
season,
last couple of
man.
years, but it's a lot there for sure. It's lion season, right? Yeah, I think so, man.
I think he'll be on the squad. Unlike I say, unless because I don't see them. I don't see them. It's gonna have to be that first round where they're gonna go in or multiple. Like you give me a couple of twos and throw in a 3, 4, something like that. Yes, okay. Again, because I can build a roster off of that. Again, I'm not trying. I'm not trying to. Fans got to look at it. You got to understand. You're not trying to win the offseason. You're not trying to win the draft. You're trying to build the organization. That's John Lynch's job. This is to build an organization. John Lynch's job is not to keep us happy because you bought a jersey. It's not his fault.
It's not his fault you got that 19.
Yeah, it's not his fault that you spent money on that jersey. It is not his job to keep your wardrobe in check and keep your finances in check based on the laundry you're buying. That's not his job. His job is the long-term good of the team. And if the deal presents itself, he's crazy to not take it.
If the deal presents itself, yes,
Yeah.
and B, obviously there's some benefit to it because you get, while you're still building, you still got this core, you've been paying guys, you get a small reset, right? Because then you got at least another 4 years before you got to pay this next guy if he pans out, right? As opposed to having to drop bags on Bosa and Debo's door.
And can I tell you something, man, that a lot of people been missing out on, and you just said it. A lot of people been missing out on the fact that you have paid a lot of guys recently. You can't pay them all. Just like with Defoe. Buckner had to go because you had to make a choice. That is happening again. You can't pay them all. And that's the curse of having a good team.
That's a real thing, right? And so if you have to make a choice, I mean, you got to go with small bear, baby Bosa, right? I mean, that's a no-brainer.
If it's a no-brainer if you have to do that, and if someone is pricing themselves out of the slotting that you have them in, not to say that you don't want to pay Debo, but if you're looking at it, and if Debo has priced himself out to a point where you can't keep him at the number you're planning on based on what you're planning on paying Bosa, he's got to go. That's the way it works. You cannot keep them all. I know I always say the salary cap is only an issue when you don't want to pay someone. Well, this becomes one of those, we don't want to pay someone that much. And this is why. Because yes, you could pay them and you could work it out. You can move money around. You can do all of these things. But you still look at it like, okay, we don't want to pay this guy that much money because we know how it's going to affect the apple cart. Because now we're going to have to pay this guy that much. And now the mean salary has been risen to this point because you can't have a $30 million wide receiver and expect to have a $20 million quarterback. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Or a $15 million left tackle. That's not going to happen. God forbid you mess around and have you a corner or one of these young safeties, one of these guys that you've drafted, and they turn into a Pro Bowler at that position or all pro. They're going to want Jalen Ramsey money. So because you've got a $30 million, if I got a $30 million wide receiver and I'm at practice every day whooping his ass, and then I go out there in the game and I ball out, you got to pay me like him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. You're $30 million guy. Check out the practice tape. You see me digging up in him every single day. Every single day. I go out on game day. You see me doing the same thing. So you're $30 million guy. Like what? Now you got another guy. Like I got to pay me or trade me. That's what happens. So all of these things are a part of a general manager's job to keep in check. He is looking at the big picture. So it's not always, I don't like this. I don't think John is lying when he says, I like this guy and I can't foresee trading him. You know, I believe him. Unless. And that is the business. They're always waiting for that unless. So let's just see how it plays out, man. Let's see. But I think he'll be here.
He is Super Bowl champion Eric Davis. I'm Rashawn Haylock. Obviously, this has become the story of the.
We don't need to talk about Jimmy anymore.
Yeah, I know, right? This has become the story of the off season, and something we'll continue to monitor. As always, want to continue to encourage you and remind you to download, subscribe, rate, and review. We're located wherever you find your podcast. Go ahead and hit that like or follow button on your particular podcast subscription service. We're on YouTube also. You can go ahead and hit subscribe there. And on social media, I'm at R Haylock. He is at _Eric Davis_ on Twitter and on Instagram. I am at Watch Ray Ray.
Oh, you know what, man? One last thing on this. I don't know unless you have more to say. You can go as much as you want to. Once you got Siri talking to you?
Yeah, man.
But we can one last thing on this. From me.
Getting some people in from the waiting room.
Debo. I don't know if Debo has asked for a trade. Jeff Darlington seems to say that he was on the phone with him and Debo told him that he wanted to trade. I wasn't on the phone with Debo. So I don't know if Debo has asked for a trade. I don't know if Debo is unhappy. I don't know if Debo wants to stay in the colors for the rest of his career. I don't know any of these things. What I do know is what he's put on film. You know, that's what I always talk about. Don't scout with your head, your heart. You scout with your head. Debo has put on what he's put on film, has put him in position to expect more money. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with him asking for it. I think the team already knows that that's a reality. And I would imagine, as I said, that's John Lynch's job, that he has to be planning on how to get this player under contract. That's a part of it, because he has to see that the market's going to be huge if he continues to play this way. So I can see them talking about it, him going into his last year. I don't have an issue with anything that Debo is doing. I don't have an issue with the media, with being in media. I don't know if it was staged, the whole sign, come back to California and all of this stuff, where he's, throat slashing, no. And if it was set up by his agent, okay, I'm fine with it, because that's what it has turned into. Teams and players talk through the media to one another. They negotiate through the media. It's different. Why? Once upon a time, it was one-sided. The team could only say what they wanted to say, and the players didn't have a voice. The players have their voice. And yes, social media is now, that is news now. That is reporting. That is media. Social media is media. So he has a platform to say, okay, I can play this game too. I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. I'm back to the same position I was. So Debo, I want to get all that out. I am definitely not a hater of Debo. And I've heard someone like, oh, you should be about the player getting this money. I am. I'm just saying, just understand the business, when and how you can get paid. But what he's doing, if that's what he's trying, like, I'm gonna put some pressure on you guys. Hey, you know what? I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it at all. Utilize everything that you can to get your money, but then just go play. It's all going to take care of itself.
I mean, you have to, right? I mean, that's good business for him, right? I mean,
yes, that's good business.
The Niners have to do their business. He's got to do his.
And this whole thing that everyone keeps saying, well, this relationship is going to be, it's going to be ruined. It's going to be scarred to a point to where it can't be repaired. God, people, the best Band-Aid ever, the best medicine ever is a big paycheck that fixes everything. You can't make me mad. You can't make me mad if you pay me enough. I used to tell guys that when I played, they would be like, man,
you can't make me mad with the bag.
They just brought in so-and-so. They just did this. They just did. I remember telling young players that when I was in Carolina, and they were like, man, why are you this way? And why doesn't this bother you? And why doesn't this? I'm like, bruh, that's what they pay me for. They pay me to babysit you. they pay me to raise. They pay me to teach you how to do this stuff. So you can't make me mad. And I would tell them all the time, if I walk up to that window, we would get paid every Tuesday. I walk up to that window on Tuesday and my check's not there. Now we got a problem.
Yeah.
Now we got a problem. And that's where Debo is. They pay him, he'll be happy.
You can't make me mad with the bag. You just put that on a t-shirt, ED.
You can't.
As always, continue to download, subscribe, rate, review, located wherever you find your podcast. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube as well. On social media, I'm at RHaylock. He is at _Eric Davis. On Twitter, on Instagram, I'm at Watch Ray Ray. He is at Eric Davis _____. Big story off season. We'll continue to monitor it. For my partner, Super Bowl champion Eric Davis, I'm Rashawn Haylock. This has been the Believe in 49ers podcast on Believe. We'll see y'all.
If they're anything like the morning sun, man, it's so nice. Peace.